Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the show where we talk about the things that we love, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all that good stuff. Joining me today, all the way from the Observatory, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm going to see Cold Storage, and good luck, have fun, don't die today.
Ooh, you know what I'm doing tonight? Well, you do know because I've told you. I'm very excited. I've been a big fan of Nikki Glaser since before she did the Tom Brady roast, but obviously she's become a megastar because of the Tom Brady roast. Now she's hosting Golden Globes and everything. And found out that she and Ron Funches, who, if you don't know anything else about Ron Funches, all you need to know is he does the voice of King Shark in the Harley Quinn animated series.
Yeah.
He's great in that. Anyway, they're doing a comedy show tonight in LA. So Ann and I are going to go see that tonight. So I'm actually really excited about that. Oh, I've been trying to see her live for a long time. So I'm really kind of stoked about it. Anyway, guys, most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about just a couple. We got a light show for you today. It's Friday. Going into the weekend is going to be a short one, but we got a couple of interesting topics we're going to discuss. And then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, or a question that you'd like us to address on the show, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, then go ahead and fire it on in to our super chat feature in the live chat. Send it in there. And then you guys will be, as long as, of course, we deem the question appropriate for the show, we will address your question in the second part of the show. All right, guys. With all that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, obviously you got movies like Dune 3, Avengers Doomsday. But man, one of the films that I am most ludicrously excited about, you guys know this, is Project Hail Mary. I am so excited for this show, or for this movie. Rob told me a lot about it, the book, and we knew it was coming, but then they showed us the preview for it at CinemaCon last year, and it blew my mind and instantly became one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Now, it's officially coming out on March 20th. We're just 1 month away, just a little over a month away. But some of you may know that every once in a while, since this is an Amazon film, Amazon will do these advanced screenings for people who are Amazon Prime members. And today, the tickets went on sale. If you go over to Fandango and look for Project Hail Mary, they'll have two different listings, one for opening on March 20th, but they'll have a separate listing for the special advanced fan screenings. And as you can see, this is for my zip code. So it's playing only in IMAX screens, by the way. So I got the Regal Edwards, Ontario, Regal Irvine Spectrum, which is what I'm going to go see it at. Regal Live LA in downtown Los Angeles, the Vista Theater, AMC Burbank 16, all that stuff. The tickets have gone on sale this morning, so you can go see Project Hail Mary a week before its release. Now, I'm just curious. I have not checked this yet. Going to see how it is. At the AMC Burbank 16, if you want to go see it, it's still loading. Maybe it's not going to show me. Maybe it's sold out. I don't know. It's not loading the seats. Normally, you can just click on these things and it'll tell you how many seats. Let me see if it'll work for another one. What about for the Regal LA? Let me see what happens if I click on this one. Oh, it's not even. I wonder if their servers are having issues. There we go. Now, as you can see, all the good seats for an IMAX are already taken. You've only got your front rows and your side things, which aren't normally the best way to go see an IMAX screen. But all the main section and all the middle stuff there is already all sold. Anyway, Rob, listen, man, you were sitting right beside me when we were in that auditorium in Vegas at CinemaCon when they showed us the previews for Project Hail Mary.
Before Amazon even started their presentation, the lights went down and they showed us the 8 minutes. And I was beside myself.
Yep, that's the way they kicked off their whole thing. And I even remember as the lights started to go down, I remember you kind of whispering under your breath, Project Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary. And they showed the Project Hail Mary thing. And man, I am so, obviously I've gone through the book several times now because of you. And seeing the trailers really do make it look, I mean, the first teaser they dropped felt a little out of step with the book, but the subsequent trailers that have come out make me believe they've really nailed the tone of the book. And I cannot wait to see this. Rob, I know you got your tickets for this already, so you're already set. What do you think about this, this program that Amazon has to show Prime members and give Prime members the opportunity to see the screenings early? And where's your anticipation level right now for Project Hail Mary?
Well, I still think what we saw at CinemaCon has been the best presentation of the kind of movie that it is. I know they leaned into the humor of it and the populist element, and I was kind of hoping they wouldn't show Rocky, but I understand why, because that doesn't take away from what's going on Earth and what's going on between Rocky and Grace in the movie. But to me, what it shows is a perfect understanding of the source material. And, I'm a huge fan of Ridley Scott's version of Andy Weir's The Martian. And I think that movie...
That was so surprisingly good.
And if you watch, there's an extended version that's about 20 minutes longer that has more of the NASA crew. I think it's almost a perfect movie. Now, big science fiction literary aficionados would say it's very much populist science fiction. It leans into the emotion, the feel-good nature of it all. But what I really love about Project Hail Mary is you have almost an insurmountable problem, and two people immediately, two creatures, two individuals, two entities have to figure out not just how to work together, but how to communicate. And it's such an interesting, it's an interesting and uplifting story. It's a very Star Trek-esque story. It goes back, how do disparate people learn to work together? That's always sort of a universal story that works. But Andy Weir combines real science and science fiction and character drama and something uplifting that I think that our civilization needs. And it looks to me that, look, Lord and Miller had something to prove. They made 21 and 22 Jump Street, which I thought were great, a lot of fun. They produced the Into the Spider-Verse movies, but Solo kind of derailed their live action career. And they clearly, to me, this is a film of passion from their perspective. And the fact that, I read an early 6 months ago, I think it was on World of Real, that's dubious, but they said there was a 3-hour cut that people loved. The movie's 2 hours and 36 minutes. They've clearly honed it down. And I think this is something that from its very inception is, again, made with passion and love. And it's, I think, getting Drew Goddard to write the script, I think this is going to be really, really special. And the fact that Amazon, this is their third movie in 3 months. They had Mercy last month. They had Crime 101, which I saw last night, which I quite enjoyed. And then Project Hail Mary shows their commitment to theatrical releases and to use Amazon. I mean, it's Amazon MGM, but to use Amazon and Prime members as a platform to gin up interest in the film, I think is a great thing. The same way that Markapiller used his YouTube platform to get people to come out and see Iron Lung. And I have no problem with that. And I hope that what they're going to do is a week in advance, get that word of mouth up. And they're only showing it in IMAX. We're seeing it in IMAX 70. And I just can't wait. I think they're handling this. They know what they have. They're behind it. They're releasing it in a way that I think we all know that we're getting something special. And I think it's going to be, a movie that people are going to talk about for decades to come. It's a family film. It's a film that's inherently optimistic and good. It talks about what humanity is best at, which hopefully we'll be talking to, another species. And if there's a movie that we could use today, it's Project Hail Mary.
Yeah. You know what? One of the things that I love about both The Martian and particularly Project Hail Mary is the fact that they elevate education. They elevate intelligence. In a political environment today that scoffs at intelligence and scoffs at education and tries to downplay it as much, it's really neat seeing a movie or seeing some television that says, hey, actually being really educated and being really smart is a good thing. And I really love the fact that both of those movies kind of elevate that instead of, casting it down, which seems to be the popular thing to do today, is to degrade education. And like somehow being smart is somehow a bad thing. And I really love
elitism. Being smart makes you, it's elite. And I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that this is not a superhero movie, but that is Grace's superpower. His superpower is that he's smart.
100%.
And I love the fact too, in the story, you see like from this image that comes right from the trailer, they juxtapose going back and forth between not only is he smart, but he sees the value and understands how important it is to pass that on to the next generation as well, because he's a teacher. And just the tension they build into it, the stakes always feel very real. It's just such an incredible piece of fiction. I'm really looking forward to see how Lord and Miller pull it off on screen. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Amazon has put now on sale a 1 week in advance special fan advance screening taking place all over the country for Project Hail Mary on March 13th. You can get your tickets. And by the way, I get no commission for it. I really should. But you can get your tickets by going to Fandango, look up Project Hail Mary, and specifically look for the March 13th Amazon special advance fan screening and get your tickets there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Star Wars has been, to put it accurately and kindly, very hit and miss in the Disney era of Star Wars. They've had a couple of things that have been fantastic. They've had a couple of things that have been some of the worst drivel you've ever seen. I'm looking at you, The Acolyte, and Rise of Skywalker, and Mandalorian Season 3. Oh, and a whole bunch of other things. Anyway. But one of the things that they did that kind of very quietly came out, delighted almost everybody who watched it, but not a ton of people watched it, and then very kind of quietly went away, was Star Wars Skeleton Crew. This was a show that, was very out of step with everything else that Disney was doing with Star Wars. But the promise of it was, this is going to be Goonies in Star Wars land. It's the Goonies set in space. And that was the promise. And the first trailer came out for it, and it was wonderful. The trailers were great. And then the series came out, and I absolutely was in love with it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not as good as Andor. And I don't know that it's as good as like peak Mandalorian, but it was a charming, heartwarming, fun adventure in a property being Star Wars, Rob, that is meant to be an adventure series at its heart. It's lacked a lot of adventure. And I really found that Skeleton Crew brought that adventure. It brought that Goonies feel to it. I just loved it. And we had all pretty much resigned ourselves to the idea that we're probably not going to get any more. But wait, there actually might be more. Because according to reports coming in now, this from Total Film, despite streaming struggles, because not a ton of people watched Skeleton Crew, Star Wars show Skeleton Crew may be getting a second season. Now, where this is coming from is the major trade outlet Production Weekly, which is basically kind of the Bible for the industry to know what's being in production, what's being developed, what's being worked on, when they're doing casting, when they're doing crew hiring and all that kind of stuff. And Production Weekly apparently is saying that Skeleton Crew is now actually in development and they're looking at doing a second one. On the one hand, this is pretty surprising because, like I said, not a ton of people watch it. Actually, Rob, I think it's fair to say that it might have been the lowest viewership rating series that they've had, at least in the Disney Plus era. I think it was the lowest viewed thing that they had, but it was also one of the highest rated ones they had. And so while I'm kind of surprised that they might be looking at doing a second season, I love the idea And it kind of gives me some hope that the executives over there are like, okay, you know what? Not a ton of people watched it, but it was really good. And the people that did watch it enjoyed it. And the critics liked it. And the fans liked it. And hey, hell, maybe we should not just be in the business of what gets the most views. Maybe we should also be in the business of making quality content and believe that if we do a season 2, because of the quality of season 1, more people will turn out this time around. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I love the idea of them rolling the dice and making a bet on it. Bet on quality and see what happens. Maybe nobody watches it again. Maybe it does. But I know for me, Rob, I cannot wait for this thing to come back because I loved this show. I just thought it was an absolute charm and a delight. And I really hope we get to meet up with these kids again. Jude Law's character was great. So I'm thrilled about it. Anyway, Rob, you saw the report. They're saying that they're looking like there might be doing a season 2 of Skeleton Crew. Good idea, bad idea. And how did you feel about Skeleton Crew overall?
Well, first of all, I really liked Skeleton Crew. I remember the opening scene has this kind of pirate, these guys boarding another ship, this action sequence. And I loved it. I'm like, okay, this feels Star Wars-y to me. And it was something we hadn't seen before. And I was immediately locked in. I thought it was going to be, I was not excited about Goonies in space because I'm not a fan of Goonies, but come at me, bro. But I watched it and I've always loved Jude Law and I thought the show was delightful. It felt, again, you were seeing another part of the Star Wars universe that wasn't necessarily linked to, like we were talking about Night of the Seven Kingdoms. In a way, it had that kind of a feel to it. And I really liked it. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really clever. I thought the performances were great. I love the visual effects. It felt like Star Wars. There was nothing I didn't like about Skeleton Crew. My only criticism would be is it felt a little slight because Star Wars was always dealing with, we have to destroy the Death Star before it blows up the Rebel base. It wasn't like that. And I really enjoyed it. So if it comes back again, it comes back because it deservedly so should come back. And I think that somebody believes in it enough to say, okay, let's do more. And I think that's what you want.
Yeah. You know what? When you're going to have a project like this, one of the key things, if not the key thing, is the chemistry, especially with younger actors. The chemistry between the characters has to work.
Yeah.
And I thought they absolutely nailed that.
100%.
Especially amongst the kids. The all the stuff with the kids where there was the young girl with the Geordie LaForge visor, and the struggles that she was having. Every kid had their own story and every kid had their own struggle and every kid just had this dynamic with each other. And then Jude Law just fit in perfectly with it. He was the dastardly pirate when they needed him to be, but you felt some empathy when they needed us to feel empathy. And again, just the adventure of it was just top notch. And I had a blast with it. And
yeah.
I really hope this comes through because I'll be watching it with bells on. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? According to some reports, particularly coming out of Production Weekly, they're saying they're looking at developing Skeleton Crew Season 2, which I never thought we would say that, but I would love to see it. Anyway, whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? As much as I am ludicrously excited for Project Hail Mary, right there at the top, though, are still Dune 3 and a little film called Avengers Doomsday. I am ludicrously excited for this. I think every move they've made so far has been a stroke of genius. I think bringing Robert Downey Jr. back was a stroke of genius. The fact that the whole world exploded and talked about it proved how genius it was. I think bringing back Chris Evans is absolutely necessary and peak. I think they're drawing on the right source material for Time Runs Out and obviously Secret Wars that were leading into Secret Wars. I've loved the little teasers they put out, some better than others, but I am just absolutely ludicrously excited about it. Now, one of the big questions that has been lingering around, as often does with any big movie, has been, when are we getting the trailer? When is the trailer hitting? Now, initially, there were some rumors and whispers that we might be getting an Avengers Doomsday trailer at the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, the thing that works against that is that it's incredibly early to be putting out a full trailer, but it was the Super Bowl. But then about a week and a half before the Super Bowl, we did report that they were indeed not going to be doing a trailer at the Super Bowl. So when? When could it be coming? Could it be coming in late February? Could it be coming in early March? Well, I think you might have to be waiting quite a lot longer than that. You know, a number of outlets over the last couple of days have been talking about that very question, about when can we expect to see this Avengers Doomsday trailer. And the reality is the Avengers movies have never really put out their first trailer all that long before the movie comes out. As a matter of fact, put this little thing together. If we sit back and look at it, the number of days separating the first trailer for Avengers Infinity War and the actual release of Avengers Infinity War was only 156 days, around 5 months. The gap between the first trailer for Avengers Endgame and the release of Endgame shrank a little bit by about 2 weeks, but it was 140 days. So about, just a little over, around 4 months. A little over 4 months. Now, I want to point this out, that it just so happens that the distance between the first trailer drop for Avengers Endgame and when Avengers Endgame came out was 140 days. It just so happens, coincidentally, that the number of days separating the release of Spider-Man Brand New Day and the release of Avengers Doomsday also just so happens to be 140 days. Now, does this information and data tell us definitively that we're going to have to wait until July 31st to get the first trailer for Avengers Doomsday? No, not necessarily. But I think it probably is a pretty good indicator that it's going to be in that neighborhood. Maybe a week before Spider-Man comes out. I mean, Rob, a lot of people still think that Comic-Con could be when they drop it. And what's the date of Comic-Con this year? Is it in July again? Or is it in?
I'm sure it's in July.
Because it's normally in July, right? Or is it in June? I can't remember. It's been a bit.
No, it's July.
So, I mean, that would make Comic-Con a prime opportunity. Like, again, if it continues to fit inside this kind of a window, then Comic-Con would fall right in between that 140 days and that 156 days that we saw the first trailers released for Endgame and Infinity War. I think all signs here. Now, again, let me be clear about this. I have no insider information. Nobody from Marvel is leaking me anything. But I think right now, if you actually look at the pattern, Rob, if you look at the history, marketing companies love following their formulas. If you look at all this, it seems to me that if you were a betting man, the smart money is they release the Doomsday trailer at Comic-Con before Spider-Man.
July 23rd through 26th.
So just like a week before Brand New Day comes out. Yeah, listen, again, nobody at Marvel is telling me this, but I think if you just, again, look at the history, look at the data, and look at their formula, I would say it's probably a pretty good bet that the event, you're going to have to wait until Comic-Con. But I think if you are, I think Comic-Con is when they're going to drop that trailer. It just seems to make sense to me. Anyway, Rob, you look at all the data here. What are you thinking about when we're going to get this trailer? And now that we live in a world where we got all those little teasers, what are you thinking we might expect in such a trailer at this point?
Well, imagine Marvel's presence at Comic-Con this year, what it's going to be like, because you've got Brand New Day opening, you have Vision Quest, and you have Avengers Endgame, or pardon me, Avengers Doomsday going into Secret Wars. I would imagine they might have one of the most blowout panels ever. You know, one of my favorite panels in Hall H was when Tom Hiddleston came out dressed as Loki. You know, there was that one. I don't know if that was when they announced the trailer of Avengers Age of Ultron, because I was hoping it would be that, and people just went bananas. And they're going to own Comic-Con this year, because imagine who they could bring to their Doomsday panel. I mean, I can't even, how many people can they fit on that stage? But I think that's a good place to do it. Those teasers told us a lot. They gave us a lot of stuff. If you go by the hype engine, I mean, the Everything Always channel and Daniel RPK and all the people that are talking about spoilers, it's now become like a daily industry talking about Doomsday. And I'm still excited. You know, I watch every video and I watch every spoiler thing to see what's up. I think the excitement around this movie is just building, and they don't have to give us anything before Comic-Con. I think that's the place to go. You know, they'll drop it and they'll have their panel, and it'll be a lot of fun. And they'll probably give us, I mean, can you imagine an extended preview showing 10 minutes of the movie or something? They might have one of those big outdoor events on the waterfront when they show movies and things. I would imagine that it's
they'll
going
do it
to be
in Hall H.
Yeah, but it'll do in Hall. But remember when they did Hall H and then you went outside?
Yep, they had the John Williams thing and the Star Trek thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be their biggest, because look, you know, the thing about Avengers Endgame, I keep saying Endgame, Doomsday, and then even Vision Quest, you know, you've got Paul Bettany and James Spader coming back. And that's a big deal too. I mean, Paul Bettany and James Spader is, as far as TV goes, he's a huge star. The Blacklist went on for what, 10 years, 11 seasons or something, 10 seasons. And then Paul Bettany's all the work that he's done. And so you've got, and since Age of Ultron, Vision was a key member of the Avengers. I don't believe he's in Doomsday, but that's big too. Coming off of this year, I'm excited. I can't wait, man. I'm deliriously excited for Doomsday and everything that Marvel has cooking, and they'll probably give us, because they might give us a little bit of a Secret Wars preview. By then they should be shooting it, right?
They won't give us anything Secret Wars, because that would still be a year and a half away, and they're not going to give anything for that. But look,
maybe a photograph.
I see some people in the live chat saying no, they're going to release it with Mandalorian and Grogu. I mean, they might put something with Mandalorian and Grogu. That's something like along the lines of some little tease thing, but it won't be a first trailer, because Mandalorian and Grogu comes out near the end of May. I think May 22nd, right? So there's May, June, July, August, September, October, November. That's 7 months away. That's over 200 days away from when Doomsday comes out. And again, look at their pattern. That would blow their normal pattern by about 50 days, 60 days, 70 days. This just not what Disney does right now with marketing their Avengers films. So again, like, I could see them doing another thing, like said, oh, we're going to slip in this little 30-second thing in front of Mandalorian and Grogu, kind of like another little Captain America spot or another little Fantastic Four spot, or something like that, like this one here. Maybe they do something like that, but I just don't see them so radically breaking with their, by the way, their marketing pattern, Rob, that has proved immensely successful. It's not like they have this little marketing pattern. It's like, oh, if only we had good results. The results of their marketing plan have led to 2 of the top 4 highest grossing films in history. So I think they trust in their patterns. So yeah, that's why I don't think we're going to get it as early as Mandalorian and Grogu. I mean, I get the idea that you put a trailer in front of it and you hopefully get more people going out to see Mandalorian Grogu. I get that. But it's such a wild departure from their regular schedule.
Yeah.
That I'm really feeling that it's going to be Comic-Con. It just seems to make sense.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's a good move on their part if indeed that was the case.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, look, we have no information right now as to exactly when we're going to get this trailer for Avengers Doomsday. But if you look at the pattern and you look at the formula and you look at the schedule that Disney and Marvel's marketing has been for these Avengers films, it puts it right into near the end of July, mid-July, end of July. And that just happens to be when Comic-Con is happening and when Spider-Man Brand New Day is coming out. And so you drop the trailer at Comic-Con, gets this big swell of Marvel excitement, sells more tickets for Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff. I just think it seems to be a no-brainer. But hey, maybe you disagree. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. We are now going to move on to the most important thing that we do here. Rob and I are going to take your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to pay some bills around here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Mando. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mando. Hey guys, I may be married now, but I remember the whole checklist we'd all go through before a first date, right? Fresh haircut, clean car, maybe you're replaying a conversation in your head like, don't screw this up. But the one thing that is absolutely non-negotiable, deodorant. And that's why for a while now, I've been using Mando. What I love most is how confident it makes me feel knowing odor is just handled, like not masked, handled. Mando is a whole body deodorant, so you can use it anywhere. Pits, feet, thighs, wherever you need it. And yeah, that peace of mind is real. My personal favorite is the solid stick. It's super easy to use, goes on clean, and it just works all day. It's created by a doctor, and it's clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours, which is wild. Some guys try to cover odor with scent. Mando men get the job done right. Don't mask it, Mando it. You can find Mando at major retailers, but for the best deal, head to shopmando.com. For limited time, new customers get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping when you use my code Campea at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com, code Campea. Support the show and check them out. Mando's got you covered. And thank you to our friends at Mando for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get over to the questions that you guys have been firing into our super chat, shall we? And give me a second. It's always tough when Jonathan's not here to get this all set up by myself. All right, here we go. The first question that we have coming into us today gets sent into us by Yatu, who writes, what is more a show of talent for an actor? Winning one Oscar with no other nominations, or getting multiple nominations with no wins? Thanks and love the show. Well, Rob, I mean, the ultimate goal for any actor is to stand on stage and hold an Oscar, right? But if you're going to ask me what is the sign of more overall talent, I'll take the guy who gets 5 Oscar nominations over the guy who had 1 nomination and won. Let me put it in terms of sports analogy. Some guy in the NBA comes out and scores 75 points in one game, but then averages 15 points a game for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, another guy at most scores like 40 in a game, but he averages like 29 points a game. Who's the more valuable? Who's the better overall player? It's the guy averaging 29 points. And so while I think it can happen that an actor can come out of nowhere and just deliver, have the perfect storm of the right script and the right character with the right director and the right performer and just delivering the performance of their lifetime and winning an Oscar, that's awesome. I take nothing away from that. But give me the actor who it seems like year in, year out is either nominated or in the running to be nominated because they just so consistently deliver. So I'll take that one myself. If I was an actor, I'd take the Oscar. But as a movie fan, I'll take the person who's just consistently up in the conversation for getting nominated over the person who just like captures lightning in a bottle. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, for me, I have to think that awards are really sort of secondary to a career. I think about people like Alfred Hitchcock and Stanley Kubrick, two of my favorite directors. They never actually won. They got honorary Oscars, but they never actually won an Oscar. Hitchcock made 53 features, and he never won an Oscar for directing. He was nominated, but he never won, and they gave him an honorary Oscar. I think the real mark of success is a career.
Yeah.
Can you, and there's people I love, like I love John Carpenter movies. John Carpenter was never going to get nominated for an Oscar, but I love his films, and I the fact that we got The Thing and The Fog and Escape from New York and Dark Star and Assault on Precinct 13 and Starman and Big Trouble in Little China and In the Mouth of Madness. I would not trade those movies for an Oscar. I mean, I'm sure John Carpenter might. He deserved one for The Thing. But I think that the real mark of success is a career worth celebrating. Now, that said, who doesn't want to win an Oscar? But first of all, I don't think we should value people based on the awards they get, because there's people that show up and deliver great work day after day after day, like great character actors or great supporting actors that never get the accolades of one of the 5 Oscar nominations for their work. But you blink and suddenly you've got an actor that's done 50 years of incredible work across many different genres and stories and movies and comedies and dramas and romances. But that said, I don't think you can mark the value of anybody based on the awards. But I would say winning a Oscar, even if you're not, I mean, how many times has The Street Monster been nominated but not won? She's won a lot. But I mean, has Glenn Close won her Oscar yet? How many times has she been nominated? And I love Glenn Close, and I would not take away from her career. I mean, she's delivered. I've been in love with
that's
Glenn.
what I'm saying, right? I think just the sheer number of nominations speaks to the quality of her career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was in love with Glenn Close when she played Kevin Kline's wife in The Big Chill, or when she was in Fatal Attraction. I mean, she was terrifying, but I loved Glenn Close.
All right. We keep moving on here now. Yatu also sends another one, says, what kind of movie would you want to see Christopher Nolan make after The Odyssey? I think he would make an awesome whodunit murder mystery movie. I think what I would just like to see is Christopher Nolan move outside of his kind of regular kind of comfort zone. So like a whodunit mystery. I would love to see if he would be able to do comedy. I would love it to see if he could be able to do comedy, because I think one of the things that separates guys like Christopher Nolan and whatnot from the GOAT, which is Steven Spielberg, is Spielberg has proven he can dip his toe into every single conceivable genre and style of movie, and he can make a Best Picture nominated film out of it. Whether it's comedy, whether it's animation, whether it's a musical, whether it's a period piece, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's action and adventure. I mean, I'd love to see Christopher Nolan get into some uncomfortable territory. So like a whodunit or a comedy would be pretty good. So that's what I would like to see. All right. Next up, we got Abraham writes, newest episode of The Pitt genuinely made me tear up. I haven't seen the newest episode yet, Rob. Have you been keeping up with The Pitt?
I have not seen the new episode.
Yeah, I've all caught up except for the newest episode, because I was an episode last night and I had time to watch one show, and it's good. I was going to say, I was one episode behind on Shrinking, so we decided to get caught up on Shrinking. Maybe after we go see Nikki Glaser tonight, we'll get caught up in The Pitt.
I watched the new episode of The Beauty.
You really like that show.
The Beauty it's a 1986 splatterpunk novel that you would have bought at an airport, and you would have read it, and this person next to you would not know how much glee you were getting from the horror contained in this novel. That's what The Beauty is.
All right. Next up, we've got Mark, who writes, this is right up your alley, Rob. I'm excited for the return of For All Mankind next month. Any thoughts as to why it's always been one of those shows that have flown somewhat under the radar? Because honestly, Rob, I never hear anybody talking about it. I really don't. Me. Except you and Ray. That's honestly, that's it. But it's such a high quality show. Why do you think, without going into a 5-minute answer, but why do you think this is a show that really does fly under the radar so much?
You know what? I think because it requires, it does not, it is a show that combines the interpersonal relationships of people with alternate universe or alternate history science fiction, but it doesn't give the visceral thrills that most people want from a full-blown science fiction show, and it gives too much the human interest stories that might seem a little too soap opera-ish. For me personally, I think it's the perfect balance. And I love the fact that you were talking earlier. It's a show about it's one of the most humane and one of the most optimistic TV shows on television. I think it's also an incredible, in my head canon, it is a precursor to Star Trek. And again, it celebrates really smart people doing really smart things, but they are not infallible. They are people after all. And I really, ultimately, the show presents a vision of a humanity's future, an alternate look at what could have been. And it's incredibly aspirational, but I think it's the kind of show that you have to give to get. You have to put something into it to get something back. And it requires patience and attention. And I think full disclosure, I've seen 8 of the 10 episodes of season 5. And I loved it. It's one of my favorite science fiction shows of all time.
All right. We'll move on here now. The next question comes to us from Luis Hernandez, who writes, Jurassic Park is my all-time favorite movie. Nice. The new ones suck. They don't all suck. Anyway, but are visually striking. Nobody wants to make a bad film, but it seems like they don't care because they are profitable. Thoughts? No, that is the lazy man's thing to say. The reality is, yes, they do care. This whole confoundingly frustrating attitude from us as film fans, and I say us because I've been guilty of this too, is this assumption that making really good movies is easy. As long as you try, you'll make a good movie. It's so easy. Anybody can do it. And the reality is this: the better the movie is, the more money it will make. Like, yeah, you can get some mediocre movies that make a bunch of money, but had they been really good, they would have made more money. And that's just the reality, because more people will go back for return viewings. More people will tell their friends to go see it. It is just inherently the byproduct of greed that studios want their movies to be as good as possible. So get this whole bullshit nonsense of, oh, they didn't care. Yeah, they fucking cared. They cared. Well, then why didn't they make another movie as good as Jurassic Park? Because why the fuck does nobody out of the 99.9% of movies that have come out since Jurassic Park have also not been as good as Jurassic Park? Because it's really hard. Though they try to make crowd pleasers and they try to make something that's artistically valuable, but it's next to impossible to make a really good movie. And so we really appreciate it when it does happen, but don't then let that fool you into thinking, oh, they must have just not tried. Because yes, they did. Everybody, our own Aaron Cummings used to say this: every actor, the moment they sign up to a new show or movie, already start practicing their Oscar acceptance speech, because everybody thinks they're making the greatest thing ever. They really do try. It's just very, very difficult. Anyway. All right. Next up. Amin writes, Dune 2 versus The Dark Knight. I'm going to say the sacrilegious thing here, Rob, but I'll say it anyway. Dune 2. Dark Knight is one of the 3 greatest comic book films of all time. I love it. It's like one of the all-time greats. But I think Dune 2, I've never said about The Dark Knight, it's the best movie of the last 10 years. I did say that about Dune 2. I love both these films, but I'm going to take Dune 2. What about you?
I mean, I don't even know how you can compare and contrast.
They are very different movies.
Yeah, they're trying to do totally different things. I mean, I think they're both incredible examples of filmmaking, but I'm going to have to take, for as much as I love The Dark Knight, I think the third act is problematic, whereas Dune 2, I think, is one of the greatest science fiction films, one of the great accomplishments in all of the history of genre cinema. So again, I would take Dune 2.
Oh, my mic was off. If they made Kang beat Ant-Man handily and escape the quantum realm, we could have watched him become the threat he was meant to be. Can we stop saying cancel him altogether was the right choice? Majors got screwed. First of all, Majors didn't get anything. Majors got a paycheck. He's an actor. He didn't create the character. He didn't write the dialogue. There was a role that was created by somebody else, and he got hired to step on a stage in front of a camera and act the role out. And then they went in a different direction of the character. Nobody did nothing to Jonathan Majors except give him a paycheck. All right. So get rid of that. Get that weak ass nonsense out of here. Jonathan Majors got nothing. He earned nothing. He deserved nothing. He's an actor, got hired to play a role that somebody else wrote. And he got paid handsomely. He got paid very handsomely. But I'm sorry, dude. You're wrong. The fate, I mean, you can play the X game all you want. Well, if this happened instead of this, and then if this happened instead of that, and then they did this instead of this, and if this, then that, then my grandmother would be the Incredible Hulk. I mean, if you went down that path long enough. The reality is this. Marvel botched Kang almost from the beginning.
Yeah.
They botched him. Let me be more specific here, Rob. They botched him in the sense that they botched him if they were trying to set up the next big bad, even bigger threat than Thanos. If that's what they were trying to set up, they botched him right from the beginning. I'm sorry, you're never going to recover the character after one version of him gets stabbed by Sylvie, and then he gets beat again in Loki season 2, and then he gets beat again in Ant-Man. And you could have had him beat Ant-Man. Ooh, he beat Ant-Man. He's an Avengers level threat. No, Marvel botched him. They just completely botched him. Now, had they, yes, if you want to play coulda, woulda, shoulda, and if, sure, if they actually brought Kang in a powerful way initially, and then presented him again as even more dreadful and powerful. Yeah, then things could have been different. But we're dealing with ours, not coulds. And what is the fact that they botched him right from the beginning. And Rob, I don't care what they did. By the time you got to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you had already lost any possibility and any hope of convincing the audience that this guy's an even bigger threat than Thanos. To make the audience feel that dread and fear. Like that moment in the Avengers movie, like when the portal opens and Thanos walks through, you could feel the air being taken out of the theater. Cause like everybody in the audience is like, oh damn, Thanos is here. You were never going to feel that with Kang after the way they already botched him. I'm sorry, but the reality is it was the right decision to pivot and move away from Kang because they botched him. He could have been a great character, Rob. Could have been an awesome character, but they botched him. And the right thing to do after that is not double down on your mistake. It's time to cut bait and move on. And they absolutely 100% needed to move on from him. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
I feel 100% you're correct. I went back and reread the Kang Dynasty storyline in the Avengers. And you read that and you're like, they could never do this anymore. I mean, Kang had no credibility. Even the way the Council of Kangs was presented at the end of Quantumania, it was goofy. That you didn't feel any threat. There was nothing there. It just, and the way that the He Who Remains or the different incarnations of the character, I thought they did Jonathan Majors dirty. I thought that he could have delivered a much better performance than, and they didn't give him enough great material to do, and they didn't set him up well enough. And like you said, they pivoted away, they cut bait and left. And I think smartly so. And I think we'll see. I mean, I think what they're doing with Doomsday and what they're doing with Secret Wars is going to be pretty spectacular. And I'm very excited to see it. but it just didn't work. And you can't, when you realize the smart play is knowing when something doesn't work and you move on. Trying to continue to double down on your mistakes, hoping that it's going to change, is never a good plan. So,
yeah, again, to use the sports analogy, championships are never, one coach once said, championships aren't won with the pregame planned. Championships are made at halftime. It's when you, it's not this blind allegiance to, well, just stick to what you're already doing. No, championships happen at halftime. What the coach meant by that is, you see how the game is actually going. Then you get into the locker room at halftime and say, okay, here's where we need to change. This is where we need to pivot. We need to throw more. We need to pass more. We need to provide more blocking on the blind side. We need to, whatever it is, we need to, break out a nickel, whatever it is. Championships are won at halftime. And that's that's one of the things that I really respect about Marvel. As much as I put it all on their feet that they completely botched Kang, yes. Okay, well, what happens when it doesn't go according to plan? Do you just stick with it anyway and double down on your mistake? Or do you make corrections and pivot away? And I think the excitement for Doomsday has shown that that was the right decision. Anyway. Yep. All right. Thanks for sending the question. I mean, I disagree with you. Obviously, troll him again, but I love the fact that you had that thought, and I love that you sent it in. So thanks for that, man. All right. Apollo writes, December 17th will go down as generational. Just like Infinity War and Endgame, we're going to have this feeling of excitement and anxiousness. Well, that is yet to be seen, because right now we don't know how good Dune 3 and how good Doomsday is going to be. Now, if both of these films live up to their promise, then yes, December 17th, 2026 will go down in movie fandom history. 100%. Doomsday. It'll be amazing. But we still got to see if the movies are any good before we jump to declaring a new national holiday or anything like that. All right. Next up, Mega Red writes, in February of 2025, the Russos described Doomsday as a very radical and challenging for audiences. With what you know, do you understand what the Russos meant? Yeah, I mean, that's safe to say. Yeah, yes. I mean, even if you know the most fundamental things about Time Runs Out and Secret Wars, you know, even if you try to simplify it, you know it's going to be a stretch to make an effective, entertaining film that doesn't make the audience feel like they're missing something. It was always going to be a challenge. So yeah, Rob, I hear the Russos' comments on that saying this is going to be a big stretch. And again, it doesn't need any insider information to agree with that. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, look, they're making a big swing. They're telling a monstrously huge story. And I think that there's so much going on in this movie and it's going to be 3 hours long, and it's a big swing. It's a lot of movie they're trying to make, and I think that's what he was saying. You know, they're not just pivoting from Kang, but they're pivoting. They're ending the multiverse saga. They were coming off a huge success with Infinity War and Endgame, and they're trying to make up ground that they've lost in phases 4, 5, and 6. And I think that they have their work cut out for them. And I think that's what he was trying to say.
All right.
Or what they were.
Let's see. Next up, Alex Fawcett writes, I loved Project Hail Mary. One thing it does extremely well is explain the science in a way that's simple and does it without talking down to you. Hopefully the movie is similar. I have full confidence. You know what? I love the way you just said that, Alex, because I was saying earlier, now, one of the things I love about things like The Martian and Project Hail Mary is that it elevates and celebrates education and intelligence. But the reason it does it so well is because, just like you just said in that, it's not like you have to be born with a big, huge, intelligent brain. The way Project Hail Mary kind of lays it out is that anybody can know what Grace knows. You just have to decide to study. You just have to decide that I want to be somebody who learns. I want to be somebody who knows things. I want to know how the world around me works. I want to know this stuff. And they kind of portray that, Rob, not just with his attitudes. Like, there's nothing special about Grace. He's just a guy who loves science and wanted to learn about it. And it shows that he's passing that down to children. And children are annoying. So I love that it celebrates education and intelligence, but it celebrates in such a way that it's available to all of us.
Yes.
All of us. Like, the Dark Knight says, all of us can be Batman. All of us can be Grace. All of us can be Grace. And that's one of the things I really love about it, the way they portray it.
Yeah, and look, it's the same thing with Drew Goddard wrote this movie like he wrote The Martian, and there's that great line, I'm going to science the shit out of it.
Yep.
And that the message of that movie, one of the messages, I love at the end when Matt Damon's addressing the group of up and coming astronauts and explaining what happened to him, and he's like, look, you can give up, or you can get down to work and get down to brass tacks and save your own life and use what you've learned and apply it. And I think that one of the things that I find strange about the modern age is that somehow learning things and becoming smart is almost now being equated with being elite. And I think having a broad base of general knowledge helps you navigate life better. The more you know the more you have a general education about whatever, the better off you'll be when you go anywhere. Like I remember when I learned how to change a tire, my father was insistent. He goes, you cannot drive a car when I was 16 unless you can change a tire, because someday you're going to be somewhere. And this is before AAA and all that. You're going to be somewhere and you need to know, this is a general skill you should know. And he taught me, he didn't stop teaching me until I could change a tire in less than 5 minutes from the time you had to get out of your car. And that has served. I had to change a tire on the 405 once here in LA. And for anyone who knows the freeways, I don't want to be a Californian, but that's a rough thing to do. Thank you, Dad. Rest in peace. Yeah.
I don't think anytime soon, but like, could they bring the Savage Lands in again? I don't think anytime soon. And the reason I don't think it'll be anytime soon is that that's pretty heavy into the inside baseball comic book stuff. But I do think it can eventually happen because, again, let's say they make 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 movies in the X-Men world, at some point you're going to need to start harvesting those storylines. So I think we can see it eventually, but Rob, I don't suspect we'll see anything or any kind of reference to Savage Lands in the first 5 years, at least. I don't know. Do you agree? Disagree? What do you think?
No, here's the thing. The Savage Land, a place you're going to now have to deal with things like dinosaurs existing. You could have Devil Dinosaur or the Living Island of Krakoa, and which the new X-Men era with Hickman's X-Men era was great. But I think it pushes the bonds of believability for the rest of the audience. The great thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is it carefully built its reality. And it pushed things far enough where, okay, here's Asgard now. And now started with Iron Man. It made you believe. It was basically set in the present day, but it made you believe that Tony Stark has this technology. Then we got Thor, which is a pretty big leap. You got to believe in Asgard and you have to believe in all the gods, but it made you believe. Then it gave us Captain America, the first Avenger, and it slowly built this stuff brick by brick and made us believe in all of it. The Savage Land is I think, a bridge too far, but maybe not after what happens in Secret Wars. You remake the world and the Savage Land is there. I'd buy that.
But can you do that to start off new X-Men films?
Oh, no.
No. Yeah.
But you can acknowledge that it exists. You don't necessarily jump right into the dinosaurs because it's going to be a whole new world, but you get in there. To be honest, John, I don't want to see the Savage Land in the cinematic MCU. I think it's a bridge too far, the same way I did think the TVA was a bridge too far. And they've had a problem dealing with that. And so,
but it took them many years before they built up to the part that they tried doing
it's
TVA.
true, and that's they got to build it brick by brick by brick. You know.
All right. Next up, we got Jarrett, who writes, if Adam Aaron challenges you to a dance-off at CinemaCon for the fate of AMC trailer lengths, will you bust out the boombox and cardboard and do battle? Are there any true knights among you? Yes, to get trailer lengths down to what they should be, I would absolutely break out the cardboard box and get out my Adidas windbreaker again to be the champion that I was born to be. All right, Christopher Brickner writes, if Skeleton Crew gets a second season, would the show take place in the Mandoverse and Filoni being an executive producer have had any impact in getting season 2? You got to understand, I think Dave Filoni was an executive producer on season 1 in name only, just because of his position at Lucasfilm as being like the chief creative officer. He wasn't really that involved in it. That's not to say he wouldn't be involved in it if they did a second season. And by the way, there is no such thing as the Mandoverse. There is the Star Wars universe, and that's it. Mandoverse really has come to be a reference to a period of time. And really a certain tight circle of specific characters. But there's, no real Mandoverse sort of thing. So again, he didn't have much to do with season 1, but I would expect that he would have something to do, being the head of Lucasfilm, or one of the two heads of Lucasfilm. I expect he'd have some impact there for sure. All right, next up. Cam Prods writes, if Oppenheimer was among this year's Oscar films, would it still win Best Picture and or Oscar sweep? That's a good question, Rob. One of the big challenging things I've always said about Oscars is that you can give a performance or have a movie or have a song or have a directing job or whatever that in many years would have won the Oscar. But if you happen to fall into a year where a few other things would be there, you wouldn't have won. Like a lot of the winners for Best Lead Actor would not have Oscars if they happened to get dropped in the same year that Daniel Day-Lewis, did anything. That would have made that a lot more difficult. Would Oppenheimer have won Best Picture this year? Because it wouldn't have won in every year. There are definitely years Oppenheimer would not have won. But I think it would have won this year. I think if, as much as I love Sinners and I love One Battle After Another, I think, and again, I can think of a number of years that Oppenheimer wouldn't have won. But yeah, I think if Oppenheimer came out this year, it would have won this year. Rob, what do you think about that?
I totally agree with you. I think that Oppenheimer has there's a certain gravitas to that story. I mean, as much as I do like One Battle After Another, but it has more of there's a satiristic element to it, whereas Oppenheimer feels it just has weight and gravitas, and it's also very, very entertaining, and the performances and the ramifications to humanity. I think it would have won this year too.
All right. Next up, we got Hollow Lord, who writes, Cross Season 2 back on Prime, enjoying episode. You know what? I always wanted to watch this first season. I never got around to watching the first season. But I want to, and hopefully I'll get caught up in time before they get too deep into season 2. All right, Sin Vendetta writes, been super excited about seeing Project Hail Mary ever since reading the book after Rob's recommendation last year, and now I get to see it a week early. Cannot wait for March 13th. And yeah, it's funny. Rob and I discovered that we both got our tickets for the exact same screening.
Yeah.
Didn't plan it or anything, but we're going to be at the exact same screening of it. And yeah, man, I am just so stoked to see this. I'm so thrilled that a bunch of us get to see it a week early, and I cannot wait. All right, next up, our friend Kevin Rubio writes, I hated Skeleton Crew. Didn't make it past the second episode. Hate it when they make the lead an idiot to advance the plot. I got to disagree with you, Kev. They didn't make the lead character an idiot at all. The lead character was a kid and he figures out his way. I would really recommend checking out the rest of it because I loved it. I thought it was just glorious. And I never thought they portrayed the lead character as being dumb, unlike what they ended up doing with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Where every single movie, Jack Sparrow became more and more of an idiot, which just frustrated me to no end.
Missed the point.
Yeah, missed the point entirely. Yeah, again, going back to that, you go back and watch Curse of the Black Pearl. You go back and watch the first Pirates movie. Yeah, Jack Sparrow was all this, but he was feared. He was respected. And when he pulled out his sword, business was about to get done. And that wasn't a euphemism, by the way. But, business is going to get done. But then as the Pirates movies progressed, he became Jar Jar Binks, where he would accidentally shoot the bad guy and like fall ass backwards. And it really frustrated me the way they did that with him. But I didn't find that to be the case, Kev, with Skeleton Crew at all. I loved it. Anyway, Julian writes, just sends it a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Julian. Daniel Urbe writes, thoughts on Dune Prophecy, just started watching it. Here's my thoughts on Dune Prophecy. I was disappointed by it, but there was enough there that I'm still looking forward to seeing what they do in season 2. Like, I thought it was definitely better than Rings of Power season 1. But overall, I thought they could have done a better job with it. But again, still, there was still enough good things there, some cool mythology that I'm looking forward to seeing season 2, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a little bit disappointed with season 1. Rob, what did you think about Dune Prophecy?
I kind of felt the same way. I mean, you're straying away from Herbert's original vision and going into the books that Kevin Anderson and Brian Herbert wrote. And it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
All right. Next up, Daniel. That was Daniel. Next one, Mr. I writes, I can see Marvel doing like what they did with No Way Home, a trailer as a post-credit scene, like they did with Multiverse of Madness. Have a great day. I don't know what he's talking about. No Way Home? The post-credit scene was a trailer? I don't understand what you're talking about, Mr. I, to be honest with you. I really don't. Anyway, so we'll move on to the next one. Corey Johns writes, can you break down what's best cinematography means? What is cinematography? Thank you. Rob, how would you describe what cinematography is? It's literally the guy who points the camera and what you actually see on the camera.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, photography is an art. And when you talk about composition, you talk about lighting, you talk about camera movement, you talk about, it's literally the proscenium of the frame. We have a proscenium on stage, but if you think about a frame as a proscenium as well. And how does a photographer best utilize the art of photography to help the story that's being told? And I think that's the way that I'd like to think about it is how does that all work together in tandem? Because everything within the frame, the photographer has to light it, making sure it looks that way. I mean, you think about it, the shadows, the light, how far back you see, the lens size. I mean, is the foreground and background all in focus? Is it deep focus or is it limited focus? The bokeh, what are you looking at? I mean, there's a million different aspects to photography. And I think that's when you come up with cinematography, that's what they're talking about. And it's truly an art form unto itself.
Yeah, I mean, basically is everything you see on screen is literally cinematography. It's what they choose to put in front of your eyes. Anyway, next up, Draven writes, just searched every theater within a 5-hour drive of me. 0 Project Hail Mary early screenings. Sad, sad, sad. Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, like, I looked it up, Rob, and there were about 5 screenings of it within about an hour, hour and a half of where we are.
Yeah.
But I got to imagine there are probably some places in the country where there probably wasn't an IMAX screen or something like that to see. So, I mean, that does suck. But you're only going to have to wait another week. Then you get to see it a week later. So hang tight. That does suck, though, man. It really does. But at least you're going to get to see it a week later. All right. Our last question today gets sent in to us by Spencer. who writes, the 4-minute preview of Project Hail Mary that played before Crime 101 was amazing, capturing the daunting tone, the humor. We believe in the Hail Mary. Rob, did you get a 4-minute preview of Project Hail Mary?
No, I got the same trailer that they've been running for a while. The last full trailer.
Was Crime 101 playing in some IMAX screens or something?
It was not. I saw Wuthering Heights in IMAX.
So, oh man. So I guess there were some select screenings of Crime 101, which is also an Amazon film.
Yep.
Showing like a 4-minute preview. I have not heard of that.
Yeah, we didn't get that. We got the standard trailer.
Ooh, now I want to see if I can find this thing because I want to see that. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again on Monday. We'll hopefully have the whole crew back here, including Jonathan, who's recovering from some bronchitis. So hopefully he'll get over that really soon. Anyway, for our dear friend, writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett, thanks as always, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Great to be here, man.
My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.